Nothing about this day felt dangerous. That's the ridiculous part. No dark alley, no warning signs. Just a quiet village doing its best. Soham was a small village in Cambridgeshire. The sort of place where people recognized faces before names. Where children walked freely. Where safety wasn't discussed, it was assumed. On Sunday, the 4th of August, 2002, this changed. Two 10-year-old girls, Holly Wells and Jessica Chapman, were spending the afternoon at a friend's house. They were excited. They got dressed to go out. They were expected home soon. They never arrived. At first, nobody panicked, because in villages like Soham, children are sometimes late. Someone usually knows where they are. Someone always has seen something. Parents checked the obvious places. Friends' houses, familiar paths. The route children walked every day without thinking. Hours passed, still nothing. As daylight began to fade, worry settled quietly, not loudly, not dramatically, just enough to change the air. Neighbors joined the search. People walked lanes they had walked for years, suddenly noticing how long and empty they were. Police were called, and slowly, the village realized this wasn't ordinary lateness. The girls had last been seen near the local school. And at that school worked a man everyone recognized. Ian Huntley was the caretaker. A familiar face. A man with keys. A man who belonged there. He spoke to police calmly. He appeared helpful. In places like Soham, familiarity often stands in for trust. And trust, when it isn't checked, can be dangerous. If you're noticing how quiet this story feels, that's because this is how it happened. If this kind of calm, careful storytelling is your thing, you might want to subscribe. We don't rush here. As the investigation deepened, things began to surface. Details that should have been noticed earlier, warnings that existed but were never fully connected. Not because people didn't care, but because systems relied on assumptions. The assumption that someone familiar must be safe. The assumption that routine equals protection. The assumption that danger looks a certain way. Days later, the truth was confirmed. Holly Wells and Jessica Chapman were found miles away from Soham. The village was shocked. So was the country. Britain watched as a quiet place became a warning. This wasn't just a crime. It was a collapse of belief. Belief in routine. Belief in familiarity. Belief that danger arrives loudly. You can subscribe now, or do what most people do and think, I'll do it after this bit. Either way, stay with me. Police later confirmed what happened. On the 4th of August 2002, Ian Huntley invited Holly Wells and Jessica Chapman into his house near Soham Village College. Inside, he sexually assaulted the girls. He then killed both of them in his home. Afterwards, he waited. He cleaned. He planned. Later that night, he placed their bodies in his car and drove them away from the village, choosing distance, silence, and time. On the 17th of August 2002, the girls were found at Soham Wash, near RAF Lakenheath. Their bodies were hidden in a remote drainage ditch, open countryside where no one looks unless they already know. The cause of death was asphyxiation. Huntley was arrested, convicted of 2 counts of murder, and sentenced to life imprisonment. The case exposed a deeper failure. Warnings about Huntley had existed. They were missed. Trust replaced checking. Holly Wells and Jessica Chapman should have walked home that afternoon. They didn't, and Britain learned something it should never have had to learn this way. Danger doesn't always arrive loudly. Sometimes it already has the keys. Subscribe if you love stories that tell you about Dark Britain.